Now, you probably think that most of the great art and music that we admire and put on a pedestal starts with a great idea. Yet in so many cases, it doesn't, right? And this is something that I've learned through pursuing creativity and music full time, is that ideas in themselves and perfectionism is a bit of a trap, okay? If I'd waited for a perfect moment or a light bulb idea to start my projects, and I wouldn't have started, finished, and definitely not released even a fraction of the music and projects that I have done over the years. And this is something that also ties over into everyday life, right? It's something that we can actually use. This mindset also applies to manifestation and everything else in lives, right? And actually aligning yourself with who you want to be and what you want to be. And that is that don't get caught up in perfectionism, right? There is a place for it, and I'll get into that, but in itself, we have this creative energy, right? For you to feel like you're creative, or you've got something inside that you want to express and explore in an art form, then that's enough, right? That's creative energy that I believe we're all born with, right? We hear that some people say, oh, I'm not very creative, but really deep down, we've all got something to give, right? And that thing is unique to us. Even if it's within music and there's millions of musicians, there's still a sound and something in you that you've got that other people haven't got. Now, the problem is that so many get stuck or wait for these perfect moments and don't quite know how to take that forward and get that out there, right? And one thing I'm grateful for, as I said, is that I haven't waited in my journey in music. I haven't waited for ideas, right? I've just recognized from a young age that I've got this creative energy and I enjoy this passion of music, and I just put the energy there without waiting for an idea, right? Depending on the life you live, you might have half hour in a day where you could be creative. You might live a life where you can be creative all day long, right? But the trick is, and something that catapults you through and past procrastination, is just by using that energy, just act on that creative energy, right? Without having the idea or even the sense of direction of where it's going. But what will happen is that by doing this, by just putting the energy there without having that direction and waiting for that idea to give you permission to actually pursue it and feel like it's big enough, without waiting for that moment, just by starting, what happens is that sooner or later the direction comes. Something will happen in the process. It might be a sound or a paint stroke that you see, and that will give you then the direction and the idea how to take that forward and develop it into the idea. But you don't need to wait for that to start. You know, so many musicians and artists out there live the life of that artist, wake up every day and just put their energy, use their creative energy into their love of whatever form that is, you know, whatever art form that is. And these people, their creative output will be 10 times more than someone that's waiting for an idea, okay? I'm not knocking ideas, you know, having those light bulb moments. If you're someone that has that, that's gold dust, you know, use them, and that's a beautiful thing. But don't wait for them, or don't let them give you permission just to start. By starting, the direction will come further down the line. You don't have to have all the answers, right? You don't have to have all the know-how. You just need to spend energy there. It's a bit like a fisherman, right? He casts his line out into the water with some bait on it. That's his intention, right? That's him putting the intention and his energy and time into catching a fish. He doesn't know yet if he's actually going to catch, right? Or he doesn't know what he's going to catch. And this is the same with ideas, right? You spend your time and your intentions and your energy on your art form. You don't know what idea you're going to catch. You don't quite know yet what it's going to be, but your intentions are there, and you're putting your energy and time into being creative, and that's step one. That's all you actually have to take care of. And then the bite happening, him catching the fish, is the light bulb moment that will come, or the sense of direction that will come just by putting the intention and the energy there in the first place, right? And this is a beautiful thing, right? And it's nice to stay open in that way. Let the idea comes. Let the project itself guide you into where it needs to be, right? And in a way that makes you like an open vessel for whatever you're meant to create that day, rather than getting too caught up in the head, right? This is key for being authentic as well. Not trying to copy or go in a direction too much, get too caught up in what the outcome's going to be. Just by spending your time being creative and using that energy that you've got, opens you up for the project to take you where it needs to go. And then you can make all these little minor decisions along the way, right? That's what it is. You make all these small little decisions along the way in that process, and ultimately that gets you to that point, that end outcome where you take a step back and think, oh yeah, that's it. Or at least it will get you to that moment where you think, now I know what this piece is. Now I know what this drawing is going to be, or what this song is going to sound like. I now know what direction it is. Something's come to me through them small decisions and just by taking action, and I now have got everything I need to develop this forward and turn it into what I want it to be. The other thing with perfectionism in creativity and art and music is that you can easily get stuck even if you're someone that has the ideas, even if you've got the idea, you can get stuck on trying to make things too perfect, right? Yet there comes a point where, in a way, you've explored that idea enough, you've explored that project enough, and probably got it to the best of your ability right now, right? Yeah, we can get stuck in all the nitty-gritty things that end up taking the life and soul out of the original raw idea, or the raw essence of that original piece, right? And this is so common. By getting caught up on perfectionism and trying to make something perfect, you can end up taking away from what that initial spark was. It's so common, and what I've realized is most of the music I've made, I love it more, and it gets a better response from others, better feedback when it's in more of a raw form, right? When I haven't picked all the nitty-gritties out of it and been too harsh and tried to make it better and better and better. It's very common that through making something better and better and better, you can actually start stripping away that original spark and beauty that was in that idea, right? There's rawness in it, and there's a point of working on your craft so that you're making sure the piece is as best as you can get it, right? Try your best and get it to the best of your ability. But it's all about recognizing when you've done that, you know, when you've kind of got that piece to a point where it's going to be digested by the audience or by yourself in the way that you originally intended, right? Is it at that point where people are going to hear it or see it for how you originally intended? And if it is, then in a way it's job done, right? Because from that moment, all them subtle changes and things in most cases will make it a little bit better. But it's all about recognizing when you're overdoing it, when it's run its course, you know, when you've got that to the best of your ability, and then stopping there and being careful not to strip it of its raw essence, you know, that original spark that makes it so unique and relatable to others. It's not all about being perfect, right? And as I said, there's a place for perfectionism. There's definitely a place for working on your craft and making sure that you're doing your best, right? That's actually what it's all about. So it's in recognizing when you've done that. It's in recognizing that really this is as good as now I can get it. Really, this is how I originally imagined it, and it's going to be digested by the way that I originally intended, without me now going in and picking all the holes in it and thinking it's not quite good enough. So how does this tie over into everyday life? Not getting too caught up on perfectionism, right? It's so common that we feel like we need the answers. We need the sense of direction. We need the idea, tying it back to creativity. In life, you know, especially manifestation, you need to be the person that you are desiring to be, right? You need to do the things that version of you would do if you were that person that you're trying to be, or that life you're trying to create for yourself. So that's the action. You just need to start doing those things without having all the answers and the direction just yet. You know, have that end vision and do the things that person would do. It's like not waiting for that perfect moment again to step into being that version of you, right? And as I said, we get caught up in wanting to know all the answers right away, but the truth is, just like making an art piece or making a song, there's room for just starting and letting those answers come further down the line, letting you get the direction as you go, step by step. Otherwise, you're just stuck in procrastination, wondering why that you're not jumping into this version of you doing the things that you want to do. You really have got to live the life of whatever the person you want to be would live, right? So start doing that. Start doing those things without waiting for the perfect moments, without waiting to have all the answers. The truth is, the answers come just by doing it. Step by step, they will come, and you'll get direction, and you'll allow yourself to be pulled in the areas that you need to be pulled in through taking that journey, right? Expecting yourself to have all the answers before you start taking action, just like expecting yourself to have amazing ideas before using your creative energy, is a bit unrealistic and keeps you in that place where your vision in many ways is just a fantasy that's never going to come down to reality. Okay, and this is the trick. So not getting caught up on perfectionism and not getting caught up in things, allowing them to give you permission just to start, means that you just sort of start taking action, and you can start living the life of that person that you're dreaming to be, right? And this is key for manifestation as well. You need to have the vision, you need to hold on to that, you need to nurture that, but you also need to take action and ground that so that it doesn't just become an unrealistic, or not unrealistic, but a fantasy that doesn't come reality. Now, in many ways, it might sound like I'm knocking perfectionism, and I'm not at all. There's definitely a place for it, and especially, as I said, for like the artist or someone that's really in that place of perfecting their craft and nurturing that craft and taking that path of living a life where they're just getting better and better and better and better, and striving for perfectionism isn't necessarily a bad thing unless it's keeping you back, because it's going to keep you on your A game, right? It's going to make sure that you're really exploring the depths of whatever your craft is, and that's an amazing thing. I would like to encourage that, but to a certain degree, right, and depending where you are in that artistry, because someone that's already living the life and having the output and exploring their ideas might be at that place, right? It is how you're going to keep taking steps forward. But the truth is, just by doing it anyway, you're going to be taking steps forward. You're going to be working on your craft. So it's a fine balance, and it all comes down to just recognizing where you're holding yourself back versus where you catapulting yourself forward into your love of art and creative output, right? Because striving for perfectionism can keep you on your A game, but it also can stop you from ever sharing anything, because the truth is anything really ever going to be perfect? You've got to recognize that moment that's come where you think, no, this is it, this is what I originally intended it to be. It's going to be digested that way by an audience, therefore I can leave this and then move on. And I encourage to share in that moment, even with the fear and the judgment that we have around things that we create, it can stop us from sharing it, but you learn through sharing along the way. There's something in letting go and recognizing, right, that's done for now. I've done it for now. I've explored that idea to the best of my ability right now. And I encourage you to share it, and you'll be surprised how much you learn from doing that and not just holding everything back and thinking it's not good enough to share. Share it anyway. Don't judge it too much. Just put it out there, and through doing that, you're going to learn more about you'll learn more about your craft. And in the meantime, you're on to the next one. Right, and again, you're taking action. You're back to square one of not waiting for an idea. You're using that creative energy, and just by doing this time and time again, we know doing anything consistency, you're going to find your ways of doing it, and you're certainly going to become better at it. Perfectionism, holding on to things, keeps us out of that. Keeps us in procrastinating. Keeps us overthinking. Where just complete the process, finish the project, share it. And through that and doing that time and time again, you will learn loads more than just putting things aside and not quite sharing it and putting it out into the world. There's definitely something to be said for letting go of your creative projects, right? You've explored them, you've enjoyed them, you've had all your fulfillment and love through your time spent creating it. Now let it go, put it out into the world. It doesn't even matter if no one sees it either, And we live in a time as well with the internet where you can just put this stuff out there, let it sit, lay dormant, and you're going to have these moments in the future where you look back on and you'll see the journey that you've been on so clearly and how much you've grown just by creating for the love of it, finishing the process and sharing and starting again. And this is real key, without getting too caught up on trying to be perfect, and by doing this your craft will be developing and your skills will be developing tenfold. Rather than just getting caught up on this sort of thing. I've got a close friend of mine, he's a very deep guy, okay, and he gets me thinking in certain ways, and I love this, and he does encourage me. He's like, Ryan, it's great you're doing all this music and you've got all these creative projects on the go, but he encourages me to have some sort of masterpiece on the go. And I admire this, right, because it's like, yeah, what even though I'm starting and I'm finishing and I'm sharing, I'm starting projects, I'm finishing projects, and I'm sharing projects, have I got something in the background that I do deem as a masterpiece, and I might finish it when I'm 80 years old? And I've explored that to the depths. So there is a place for it, right? And as I said, it's not all about just accepting, it's good enough when you know that you can make it better. But I'm just highlighting the fact that perfectionism in itself can stop us exploring our ideas, and it can keep us held back. And it's also the same in daily life, right? It can stop you becoming that person that you're destined to be, or you're striving to be. If you're destined to be, you're bound to be. You're going to get there anyway, right? So the person you want to be now, right, it's going to stop you from doing that, because you're waiting for perfect moments, you're waiting for perfect answers, you're waiting for a perfect direction, and that's not always realistic, right? You just got to take the first steps. So there's definitely a place for perfectionism, and it keeps you on your A game, but as long as it's not holding you back. And this is what I've learned through pursuing music and creative projects full time. There's some real power in just using your creative energy, that spark within that you've got that's authentic to you, and just doing it without having the answers, and allow that project then to guide you, allow the ideas to come further down the line. And as I said, I wouldn't have started, finished, and definitely not released a fraction of the projects that I have done over the years if I'd waited for perfect moments and perfect ideas. And the growth that I've had within my skills and my passion through doing this, letting go as well once done, is a beautiful journey to go on. Okay, it really, really is. And don't hold yourself back from waiting for these perfect moments. And there's definitely ideas and stuff that maybe I could have spent years longer on. Okay, but would I really have got that idea much more developed? Would I really have got it much better? It feels to me that there's more growth in recognizing that it was done. I've explored it. that idea to the best of my ability for where I'm at right now, and then move on. And in that moving on, you get excited about what's going to be different about that next piece, and you're exploring more and more and more and more, rather than getting caught up on things that either won't make much of a difference to how the art's perceived in the first place, and also the overthinking and keeping you stuck, and then taking the life and soul out of a beautiful idea that was probably good in the first hour that you started it, rather than hour 50 or beyond that, you know. So it's interesting. So many of the things that I've learned through doing creativity, for spending my time doing creative things and exploring my loves and passions for music, tie over into everyday life, and this is a big one, right? You have just got to start and do the things, live the life of the person that you want to be. And also, living the life of an artist or a creative is someone that just spends their time doing it, regardless of ideas and perfect moments, you know. Do it for yourself first, do it for your own fulfillment, and then go on that journey. And then there will come a point where it's time to let go and move on. And you'll learn a lot this way, and you'll be on your way to creating and sharing and nurturing your craft, whatever that is. Yeah, it's powerful, a lot of fun to be having this, and that's the main thing. Just enjoy it. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons for yourself, and just the love and the passions and authenticity. Stay true within it, you know.